Hello and welcome to the Stars in Her Eyes YouTube channel. I'm Karen Monaco. I'm the owner and creator of Stars in Her Eyes, a faith-focused business that supports women in unlocking their divinity, rising into their purpose, and just continuing their spiritual evolution with the use of some really powerful and sacred tools. And one of those tools that I guide women with is astrology and the stars and all of the magic and energy that's available to us when we start to tune in there. I am being joined today by my little boy, Sebastian. He's taken a little snooze. But I'm coming today to talk a little bit about the upcoming Mercury retrograde that we're going to find ourselves sitting in. It's going to take place from July 7th to August 2nd, and it might even be something that you're already starting to feel energetically. So what is a retrograde exactly? A retrograde is when a planet appears to be moving backwards through the zodiac. So in this upcoming retrograde, we see Mercury appearing to move backwards, starting out in fiery and very loyal Leo, and then transitioning into emotional, intuitive, and watery Cancer. So one thing I really want you to be aware of, that the planet just appears to be moving backwards. It is still very much continuing its forward facing orbit. It's just kind of like almost like a sleight of hand, to be quite honest. And so that's what retrograde is astronomically. But what we really want to take a look at is what it means for us astrologically, and if it's really something that we should fear. So the truth is that once we have the information, it really is a time where we are able to thrive as opposed to live in this fear-based thinking. We take the insight and then we respect it. So we're looking here at respect over fearing. And this is actually what it's like, or what it means to live in flow with the energy of the universe. And this is kind of where the magic starts to happen. So when a planet is in retrograde, we're given the opportunity to take the traits and what that planet governs and go within and do the deep thinking surrounding that topic. So Mercury is the planet of data and information gathering. And it's through this energy where we kind of organize all the stuff and start to place it into a bigger context. It's our language function and just overall communication. Our rational mind sits here, and we work with our rational and our logical mind based on where Mercury sits within our natal chart. Mercury is the planet that we find has our ability to talk, teach, and learn. So every planet, just like every constellation, is in our birth chart, and we express either the high side or the low side, depending on the other relationships that are happening or the other dynamics within our chart. And the high side, or this kind of positive side of the energy, is when we come into this state of receiving information and knowing exactly what it is we should do with it. In Mercury's instance, there are times that we take the information and we create from it. We move, we take action. But then there's also times when we get information and that information is requesting that we do the shadow work, or we hit pause and go within. So when we hang out on the low side of Mercury, our communication is unclear. We don't tend to receive with clarity. Now, when we're on the high side, we have this beautiful balance of our inner mystic shining and being vibrant, but also allowing her to be free. We are able to use our fact-checking and inner compass to ensure that this mystical, this intuitive side that a lot of us women are coming forward as having, we ensure that there's a balance of rational and intuitive thinking. And when that energy turns into the low side, it can become quite chatty and nervous, emotional, and even impulsive. And so when I say emotional, I mean kind of on the lower end where we're not dealing with our emotions, we're just sitting and getting stuck there. So during these low expressions, others can struggle to understand us. And quite frankly, we struggle to understand ourselves. Mercury in retrograde has become kind of the pumpkin spice latte of the astrology world. Most people who have no knowledge of the stars, the planets, or the zodiac, they for sure know when Mercury makes its apparent backward journey. And that might be because their news feeds, or all of our feeds are being flooded with memes blaming everything on this retrograde. But during the 3 to 4 weeks, everything that's blamed on it is not always Mercury's doing. So Mercury, absolutely, it plays an epic role in our energy. And think about it. If it's how we process information that comes to us, and then it's what we do with that information. We're human beings. We are constantly processing and acting all the time. So what does this all mean for us? The traits of Mercury are going to be amplified during a time when it's retrograde. Our communication can go absolutely wild and crazy. Technology might just leave us feeling with a little bit of like a what the hell. We could have a little struggle with some of our rational thinking. And this also means that there could be a challenge in keeping information straight or organizing what we're told. Things might feel a little foggy. There might not be the same clarity that we have on a day-to-day basis. Other information that's out there about Mercury retrograde is that we should resist signing any contracts or binding agreements, and that travel will come with its challenges. And actually, when you look at everything that is posted or shared about Mercury retrograde, the list of don'ts is huge, and some of it is just not even factual. So many times that awareness of Mercury being in retrograde will bring us into that low expression that we talked about because we succumb to it. We anticipate problems, we expect them, and therefore we manifest that negativity and that energy rather than collaborate with the work that's available to us. We enter this fear-based flow with the universe, and if you meet the universe in fear, you will be triggered deeper than ever before, and triggered in a way where you may not be able to make the most out of the work that you're being guided to do. And so take a moment and actually think about what shifting from a fear-based mindset of Mercury retrograde into a respectful mindset could do for yourself. So after you've given that a quick little think, I just want to be clear. I'm not saying Mercury retrograde is not something that can come and create chaos, and it's not just all hype. Last year around this time, I sat giving a very similar Mercury retrograde spiel, and I was a little bit flippant about it. And I felt like the power was purely in the belief at that point, rather than based in actual chaos. I thought it was all the manifesting. And so the universe delivered me some very powerful lessons last year around this time, and I'm really grateful for them because now I can teach to you from a place of knowing. The struggles that everybody talks about during Mercury retrograde are absolutely real, but the negative is stronger if that's where we're going to unpack. So last summer, like I said, I kind of took on this almost arrogant view of the season where I felt like it was nothing to be feared. I was stronger. My guides had me. And so now I feel like I'm speaking at a point where I'm really respectful of the season of Mercury retrograde. So let's defy some of the typical doomsday attitudes and really shine during this period. So my first recommendation is to do the back end work of your purpose. I already mentioned that this retrograde is in Leo and then ends in Cancer. Leo is the sign that calls us forward into the spotlight. It's where our charisma comes from, and get this, it's also the sign of self-expression and individuality. So as we start to put the pieces of Mercury retrograde and Leo together, that doesn't exactly look like a recipe for disaster, if you ask me. And especially when we start to look at it in this respectful way. So what I see is a time for us to decide what spotlight we want to own. And rather than stepping up onto that box and letting that light shine on us, we get the time to hit pause and hone in on our message. We get quiet and ensure that what we're speaking to holds truth for us. We tailor our specific form of knowledge and the strength of teaching, and we shape it into what we can gift to the world when Mercury goes direct. So carving out time during retrograde season to work on what your message is, and maybe even do some digger deeping, either by way of soul work or research, is an incredible way to honor Mercury retrograde. If your goal is to support people and give them information that will impact their life, Mercury retrograde in Leo is definitely a time to write about it, to learn about it, and also to start practicing what you preach. My second tip is to stay true to yourself. Leos are the loyal lions of the zodiac, and we have the emotional and nurturing energy of Cancer at play with here as well. So rather than falling into the nervous and chatty energy of Mercury, once again, go inward and do work that connects you to the deepest stirrings of your soul. Journaling, meditation, getting outside, and getting really anchored into Mother Earth are beautiful ways to connect. Disconnecting from technology, even if it's just for 30 minutes a day, can also bring you into this point of understanding yourself better and getting clear on what your values are, your truth is, and all of the other things that encompass this spiritual journey that we're all on. Resist the need to fill your time with busyness. So since most people are going to fall into that trap and be anxious, don't cloud your energy field with that. If you know someone is definitely a part of this high vibe energy, then by all means engage with them and work through retrograde season with them. Have a laugh, share insight, practice your message with them. But stay away from people who are going to just blame everything on Mercury retrograde and make it that doomsday attitude. Third suggestion that I have for you is to get close to friends and family. So traditional advice is to be very wary of travel during Mercury retrograde, and that's not complete crap, but I just don't want you to shy away from exploring either, and especially when we can include family and friends alongside us. So pair Mercury's support of short-range travel with a Leo's love of family and the Cancer's energy of nurturing and healing and mysticism. With that, you have the perfect opportunity to create some amazing memories with your loved ones. Things like a staycation with your kids can raise the vibration of your family dynamic or your soul pod. And think about where you have always wanted to explore locally and start going. It could be a new restaurant, it could be a museum, it could be hitting the beach. Speaking of the beach, what a beautiful time to get some of your soul sisters together and just go to the beach for a day, letting the water heal your soul or kind of bring in some new energy and take out what no longer serves. You can ask your partner to stay in bed with you for a day. And after all, Leo marks the relationship of the king and queen. So think of Mercury's travel as more energetic than logistical. You can expand your intimacy by just connecting in whatever way you're comfortable. So more important though, with these energies, with these interactions with people, keep them simple this season. My fourth suggestion, I'm going to invite you to learn about your stars. If you're curious how to make the most of each and every retrograde season, it may be time to have your natal chart read. With a natal chart reading, you learn where your sun, moon, and rising sign are and all of the ways that they interact with the other planets within the zodiac and within all of the astrological houses. So if you book from now until the end of retrograde, which is that early part of August, I'm actually offering a booking bonus where I take a look at your Mercury and the energy it brings into your chart. You'll learn how Mercury interacts with all the other planets, the house it sits in, so the scene where you are most likely to share your message, where you are your most powerful teacher and communicator. And then of course, the zodiac sign that Mercury sits in, and that zodiac sign shows the flavor of your Mercury. So to book, you can schedule it with the link in the video's description. And I absolutely hope that you enjoyed this insight into Mercury retrograde. Much love and light to you, sisters, and I hope to see you in a natal chart reading. Namaste.